Hey Circuit Riders, thanks for joining us today. This week is a milestone for us because we've been on the road for 6 months now. We are loving life on the road and have already had some fantastic adventures, so thanks so much for sharing that with us. Today I wanted to take us back a little bit and talk about something that has evolved for us over the past several months and is continuing to evolve as we move forward, and that is moving day. I want to play a video that I recorded 5 months ago after we had only been on the road for a few weeks. As I'm sure you know, with any big life change, no matter how exciting, it brings a lot of challenges and stresses with it. And when you live in an RV, one of those challenges is that you are constantly moving. Whether you move twice a week or twice a year, at some point you're going to have to secure everything in your house and start your engine and move that house down the road. I was really struggling with getting a handle on this process early on, so here's a video I recorded as I was trying to figure out how to adjust to life in the RV. When we arrived at Rondout Valley Campground, we got everything set up, we opened up the RV, and when we came inside, Bryn noticed some water was along the floor behind the island, between the island and the dinette. And it had been raining when we packed up to leave this morning or yesterday, and we thought that when we brought the slides in, maybe it dragged some of the rainwater in with it. So we wiped it up and didn't think anything of it, and then something of Bryn's got wet that was on the floor, and we noticed later that it was kind of soapy. And I said, Bryn, did you wash the thing with soap that got wet? And she said, no, I just rinsed it with water. So then we started thinking something else is going on here, it's not just rainwater. So we started doing some investigating, and lo and behold, under the sink, behind our trash can, a bottle of dish liquid had toppled over and spilled out. The bottom underneath the sink was all soapy, and some of the soap obviously had dripped out behind the island, mixed with the rainwater that came in from the slide, and had created a little bit of a soapy mess. Not horrible, but got a little bit of the carpet wet. So this was a lesson for me in preparing things for travel, which leads me to a bigger point. I've had a bit of an epiphany today with this trip. I have been getting so stressed out on moving days because it just seems to take hours for us to get out of the campsite in the morning. Even if we start packing up the night before, it still takes what I think is a very long time to get out of the campsite. Pack everything up. We have our checklist. We check everything off. We do all the inside. We do all the outside. We hitch up the truck. We go. And it's just been driving me crazy. My head is about to explode with how much work it seems to be. And I've kind of written it off to, it's new. We don't really know what we're doing yet, which definitely there is some of that in there. But my epiphany that I had today was everything in the RV needs to be travel ready at all times, not just on moving day. Seems obvious, right? But I think I had in my head that this was going to be my house, and I would have it set up like a house. I would have things on the counter, I would have things in the drawers, things in the cupboards that were functional, and then I thought, well, on moving day, I'll just put everything away and then we'll go. But it's just taking too long, it's too much of a process. So I think now my goal is to go through every cupboard, every item, everything on the countertop, and think, how could this be secured for moving day? And then just use it that way all the time. I've got some sticky silicone tape that maybe I can tape things down to the countertop with, or Velcro things to the walls, so something to secure things so that they don't all have to be put away every moving day and then unpacked again when we get there. Because who here loves packing up their house for moving? No, I'm guessing no one, and me included. And so I kind of thought this RVing process would be different than moving a house, and it's not really. It's just a smaller house. So I'm going to work on this. I need to fix my attitude and fix my thinking and fix my expectations so that this will be a more pleasant process for everyone. I have all these little things on the counter that I've been putting away every time we move, but I'm gonna try taping them down with this silicone tape that I have. It's really thick, double-sided tape, and I'm hoping that it will stick everything to the counters because I don't really want to move this stuff. It's gonna stay there all the time. So if I can get it to stick while we're traveling, I'll never have to put it away again. So I know you're probably saying, Lisa, why don't you just get rid of the things on your counter and not have them out at all? Wouldn't that be easier? Of course it would, but these things have sentimental value for me, and they're just little things that I like to have from home, so I'm gonna try to keep them for now. I'm not really sure about this lamp on the dresser because it has a felt bottom on it, and I'm not sure if the tape will stick, but we're gonna try it because I don't wanna move this lamp anymore. Okay, so I started coming up with some good ideas of how to make moving days easier. And like with most things, the more I do it, the easier it gets. But here are 3 things in particular that made a huge difference. Number 1, less people equals less time. In the beginning, there were 5 of us in the RV. Bryn lived with us for the first 6 weeks, and also we had Ella. Having more people in the RV just naturally means it takes longer to pack up. Bryn was sleeping in the living room, which meant that we couldn't pack up that space until the morning of leaving. And Ella required a lot of care, getting her settled in the crate and securing her litter box. Once Bryn moved out to her own apartment and Ella went to live with Jaron, the packing process became much simpler and we could do a lot of things the night before that we couldn't do previously. Number 2 is gear ties. Pretty early on, we decided that we wanted to secure as much as possible to prevent things from breaking or getting damaged. We've heard several stories from people who have had cupboards or drawers fall open while they're traveling, only to arrive at their destination to find a huge mess in their RV. So in addition to making sure that everything is shut tight before we move, we started using gear ties for extra security. And there have been a few times when we've arrived at a new location and some of the cupboard doors have been popped, but the gear tie prevented it from opening and spilling out everything onto the floor. We also use these old chair cushions that we brought from home to pad things like the dining chairs and the woodwork. It does take some time to put these things in place, but the messes and damage it prevents is well worth it. Number 3, we have made some big modifications in our storage. Mainly we've installed several wire shelves that help keep things organized, and I've permanently installed my desk in the bedroom so that it doesn't need to be put away on moving day. We decided not to build a new desk, and instead we modified my existing desk. I'm going to do a separate video about those projects, but I wanted to mention them here because they have made a huge difference in how we store things to prepare for moving days. So now that you have a sense of the changes that we've made in the last few months, I'm going to take you quickly through a typical moving day. We move about every 1 to 2 weeks. I'm really partial to the 2-week stays. It gives us enough time to really get set up and put out all of our stuff on the counter and our patio furniture outside, and we have enough time to really explore an area. But it also means that we move often enough that we don't languish in one place for too long, and we can keep our moving day skills fresh. So every pan is padded at all times and ready for travel. And usually when we're stationary somewhere, we leave some of these cast iron pans up on the stove so we don't have to get them in and out every time. I'm closing up the bathroom now. Just going to secure all these drawer handles with our twist ties, and I've got the medicine cabinet. The shower doors get locked open with this lock so they can't move. Everything in the shower is on the floor in the basket, including the shower head wrapped in a washcloth. And my seagull is taped to the counter so that I don't have to remove him. The bedroom slide is already in. So that's the small slide that sticks out in the front of the RV. And you can see with it all the way closed, it just touches the desk that we recently installed. I love not having to take down this desk every time and all the cords are there. The closet doors get locked, and the chair and my little exercise bike and any other miscellaneous things just get thrown on the bed here. And I've got some pictures and the lamp taped to the top of the dresser, so I just cover them up in case they were to come loose, but they never have. And close in the drawers with some twist ties. We have our 2 checklists that we use every time. Departure internal, departure external. And I've just finished everything in the bathroom. Secure the medicine cabinet, closet, items in the shower, shower head, counter, latch the shower door open, latch the bathroom door open, close the vent lid. And we treated the toilet last night. On the panel, I'm going to check that all of these things are off. The water heater's still on, so I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to check that the fans are both closed. They're both closed. I'll turn the bath fan off. Climate, the air conditioning and furnace are both off. And the lights, I'm going to turn the master light off. That will turn off all the lights in the rig. We try to secure as much as possible so that nothing gets damaged. We don't take any chances with things sliding or banging around or falling or spilling. So everything is wrapped as best as we can. Our decorations here are taped. We've got twist ties on all the cabinet doors and cushions where it's most vulnerable to be scratched. My dishes I leave as is. I do turn the bowls upside down, but these are Corelle dishes. They're not gonna break. Even if they fell on the floor, they wouldn't break. And there's a nice non-skid pad here. The glasses I do wrap because some of them are glass mugs. All of my regular dishes are plastic, but because of the glass mugs, I do wrap them and put a curtain rod in front of them so they don't slide. We have these collapsible buckets in the sink that hold our counter items and the dog bowl and our dish drying rack. Wrapping dish towels around them keeps them from banging together. This works really well. The last thing I do before we close in the slides is sweep the floor, because the last thing we want is for grit and dirt to get stuck underneath the slide rollers and to come in and scrape the floor. One more quick check to make sure that everything that is not secured is off of the counters and nothing is loose before we bring up the steps. All right, and then we take a look all down the side, make sure slides are in, awnings are in, nothing's sticking out. We're gonna grab those chocks in a second. Earlier this morning, Jason got up on the roof and swept everything and checked the awnings before they came in. And he's unhooked the sewer and the water lines, put all those away. The last thing is to check the tire pressure on all the tires. And we leave our electrical plugged in until we're hooked up to the truck and we can switch over to the truck's electrical. Our hitch has an airbag in it that also needs to be checked and possibly filled. This gives us a nice smooth ride when we're going down the road. Very important to check the wet bay and make sure that gray tank is closed, black tank is closed, because we do not want anything leaking out as we're going down the road. We always turn our propane tanks off before travel. Some people leave them on, but we just prefer to turn them off. We don't need them while we're traveling. The reason people leave them on is because sometimes it powers their refrigerator, but our refrigerator is on electric and we have a separate inverter that keeps that going while we're traveling. This little inverter inside of our storage bay plugs directly into the refrigerator so that it can draw power from our batteries while we're driving and keep the fridge cold, and we don't need to keep the propane on. All right. Now it's time for Griffin.
Let's go.
For some reason, this boot mat is always the very last thing to get put away. I'm not sure why. I guess we wipe our feet before we get in the truck, but this is the last thing. All right, moment of truth. We're gonna hook up the truck to the RV. This is probably the most widely variable time constraint that we have. Depending on how evenly Jason can back up over the ball, it could take a few minutes or 20 or 30 minutes. We'll see. Very good. Now we hook the chains, the breakaway cable, and the electric. Breakaway cable is a safety cable that if the trailer became unhooked from the truck, that cord would snap and automatically trigger the trailer brakes to stop.
All right.
Now that we're hooked up to the truck, we can unhook our electrical. Actually, would you pull that surge protector out?
I have my travel shorts
Yeah,
on.
that's all right. And your slippers.
They're not slippers.
Yes, they are. They're hardy slippers, but they're still slippers. Are they shoes?
Yes, they are.
No.
They're LL Bean.
They're slippers.
They're all weather footwear.
That's okay.
They're made for 20 below Maine winters.
I glued a magnet on here so this would stay up because
It's annoying.
I'm tired of holding it with our elbow. Nice little powered winch for our electrical cord. This is really the last thing. Take the chocks out of the tires after the truck has been hooked up and all the jacks are up.
I gotta pull that back one.
Okay. I've learned over the past few months that it pretty consistently takes me 2 hours from the time I get out of bed till we pull out of the campground. Now that's not all tear down time. That includes I'm gonna take a shower, get dressed, eat a little breakfast, feed Griffin. But as long as I know that when my feet hit the ground, it's gonna be 2 hours until we can pull out of there, then I can better gauge what time I need to get up. Today, it was only an hour 50. Jason hooked up the truck in 10 minutes to back it up and line it up with the ball. So that was a really good time. And I think we're getting a better hang of it now. Just the flow of everything and how things can go together with I do this and then you do this so that things are going in a good flow. And of course, we've got our checklist. So I'm pretty happy with our current state of packing up and getting out. I hope that was interesting for you to see a little bit of our process and what it's really like to live in a house that's constantly moving. Over the next few weeks, we'll show you our time in North Carolina, but for now, I hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving with your family this week, either virtually or in person. Bryn and James are coming down to visit us here in South Carolina, and it will be our first Thanksgiving in the RV. We are ready for some Instant Pot turkey. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.